What's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Solfachord deck profile. So I'm really excited to do some for you guys because this deck is actually suggested to me by one of my patrons, Izzy. And this deck is an extremely interesting pendulum deck because you can actually summon out Zak in this build. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon in the description below for all those awesome rewards. And definitely give Izzy some love down in the comments down below for suggesting such an awesome deck. So let's get straight on into this one, guys. So first off, we're playing 2 copies of Yugioh. Yugioh is super easy to summon out to your side of the field because this card can be easily special summoned by its own effect by triggering 2 pendulum monsters on your side of the field. This card also helps you pop monsters on the field and negate your opponent's cards, which is absolutely insane. We then play a single copy of Yugioh. Yugioh is great as a 1-in build because this card is actually a level 7, making it really easy to go in for cards like Odd-Eye's Absolute Dragon in this build. We then play 2 copies of Angela. Angela is really good as a 2-in build because this card can actually help you get your other Solfachord monsters out from your deck onto your side of the field. As this card has the ability during the main phase, you can actually tribute a Solfachord pendulum monster, and if you do, you get to special summon a Solfachord pendulum monster from your deck whose pendulum scale is 2 higher or 2 lower than the monster you tribute him, which is a great ability. We then play 2 copies of Yugioh. Yugioh is great as a 2-in the build because this card actually helps you search out your Solfachord spells and traps directly from your deck to your hand. We then play 2 copies of Fansia. Fansia is great as a 2-of as well in this deck. This card has a really cool ability to basically add one of your Solfachord pendulum monsters from your deck to your extra deck, which is such a cool ability so we can pendulum summon them out later. We then play a single copy of the level 3. This card is great because you can actually balance your opponent's back row, which is such a cool ability because when it's normal or special summon, you get to target a spell or trap your opponent controls and return it back to the hand, which is a great ability to just deal with one of your opponent's back row so we can go in for game. We then play 2 copies of Yugioh. Yugioh is great as a 2-in build because this card is basically an extender for the deck and just a really cool 2-of to be able to summon out to your side of the field. We then play 3 copies of Yugioh. Yugioh is basically the Stratos of the deck, making this card definitely a 3-of in the build, because when this card is summoned out, you basically get to add a Solfachord pendulum monster from your deck to your hand, which is a great ability to instantly grab the exact card that you need. We then play 3 copies of Supreme King Gate Magician. This card is such a powerful 3-of in the deck to basically search out our trap cards to summon out our copy of Zak to our side of the field. As this card has the ability, if this card is special summon, you get to add one card that mentions Supreme King Zak from your deck to your hand, except a spellcaster monster, which is a great ability to instantly grab the exact card that you need. But this card is absolutely insane in the deck to help us summon out our copies of Zak, plus it's a scale 1, which is really helpful. We then play 2 copies of Darkworm. Darkworm is great as a 2-of in the build and a really cool monster to be able to send to the graveyard off of Dragon Shrine. As this card has the ability, if you don't control a monster and this card's in your graveyard, you can bring this card back to your side of the field, which is a great ability to be able to do, because if this card is normal or special summon, you get to add a Supreme King Gate pendulum monster from your deck to your hand, which is such a powerful ability to be able to use in this deck. You can actually search out your copy of Gate Magician directly from your deck to your hand, which is such a cool effect. We then play a single copy of Lightworm. Lightworm is really cool in the deck as a 1-of because this card is actually a tuner monster, helping us go for some really cool plays in this deck. We play a single copy of Gate 0. Gate 0 is insanely powerful because this card is actually a scale 0 as well, which is such a powerful ability for this card because it makes it super easy to basically place our copy of Yugioh and Gate 0 in our pendulum zone so we can summon out basically anything we want directly from our hand or extract by pendulum summon, except our copies of Yugioh, because Yugioh is a level 8. But this card is really good in the deck as a 1-of because it's super searchable and it's just a really fantastic card because it is a scale 0. We then play a single copy of Astrograph Sorcerer. Astrograph Sorcerer is really powerful in the deck as a 1-of, as it's such a cool card to be able to summon out to your side of the field. If one of your cards gets destroyed, you can just instantly bring it out to your side of the field. Plus, it's a level 7, which helps us out with a lot of different plays in this build, and it's one of the most powerful pendulum monsters ever created. We play a single copy of Odd-Eye's Arc Pendulum Dragon. Arc Pendulum Dragon is really good as a 1-of in the build, but you never want to see this card in your hand. You always want to just use this card with your copy of your trap cards. Then summon out your copy of Zak, which is just so important for the deck to have a Pendulum Dragon monster somewhere in this build. So this card is basically our Pendulum Dragon, so we can summon out our copy of Zak. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is definitely a 3-of in the build to basically just stop the opponent from touching the deck. So that's it for the spells, or that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Wings of Light. Wings of Light is definitely a 1-of in the build. As this card has the ability during the main phase, you can add a Supreme King Dragon or a Supreme King Gate Pendulum monster from your deck to your hand, or if you control a copy of Zark, you can special summon it instead, which is such a powerful ability to instantly get the exact card you need off this card's effect for the Zark engine. We then play 2 copies of Dragon Shrine. Dragon Shrine is great as a 2-of in the build to basically just send your copy of Dark Worm directly from your deck to the graveyard, so you can bring it back to your side of the field and go full combo, which is so amazing for this build, so you can step into your copy of Zark. We then play 2 copies of Harmonia. Harmonia is definitely a 2-of in the build, just such a powerful field spell with some really insane effects that you can actually activate one of 3 effects on this card, that you can add 1 face-up Solfachord Pendulum monster from your extract to your hand, so you don't basically have to summon it to a link zone or an extra monster zone, or increase the pendulum scale of 1 Solfachord card in your pendulum zone by its own level this turn, which is a great effect to be able to use your copy of Cutia to make it a scale 9, so you can actually pendulum summon out your copy of Kulia, or if you control a Solfachord Pendulum monster card with at least 3 even pendulum scales or at least 3 odd scales, you can destroy 1 card your opponent controls, which is a really interesting effect that actually comes up a lot in this deck. We then play 3 copies of Eulogy. Eulogy is really good as a 3-of in the deck. This card is basically like Pendulum Call for the deck, letting you place a Solfachord Pendulum monster from your deck in your Pendulum zone, and you can add a Solfachord Pendulum monster from your hand to your extract face up, then place 2 Solfachord Pendulum monsters, 1 odd and 1 even scale, from your deck in your Pendulum zone, which is the main effect we use on this card, or add 2 cards, 1 odd and 1 even scale from your Pendulum zones to your extract face up, if we do draw 2 cards, which is such a broken ability just to help us draw cards in this deck. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to start with a single copy of Musica. Musica is really good as a 1-of in the build because this card is just such a powerful card to be able to play in the deck, especially if you have both even and odd scales, which is really powerful because it lets you target a card your opponent controls and destroy it, which is such a cool ability. We then play a single copy of Soul of the Supreme King. This card is insanely powerful as a 1-of in the build because it's actually searchable in the deck. You pay half your life points to special summon out a copy of Zark from your extract, ignoring its summoning conditions, but negate its effects, and it returns back to the extract during the end phase of the next turn, which is not that big of a deal because you can basically just tag it out for a copy of Arcray if we need to, which is really important. Also, this card has the ability when your opponent activates a spell card or effect, you can actually banish this card from the graveyard and a Supreme King Zark from face up from the monster zone to special summon 1 each of a Pendulum Dragon, a Z Dragon, Synchro Dragon, and a Fusion Dragon monster from your hand, deck, extract, and/or graveyard, which is such a powerful ability to basically just swarm the field with all sorts of different monsters to help you go in for game. We then play a single copy of Soul of the Supreme Celestial King. This card is really good as a 1-of in the build, just as another option to summon out your copy of Zark. This card lets you tribute a spellcaster monster with 2,500 original attack points to be able to fusion summon your copy of Zark from your extract by banishing the fusion materials mentioned on it from your hand, deck, extract, field, and/or graveyard, but its effects are negated unless 1 each of your Pendulum, Exeme, Synchro, and Fusion Dragon monsters are currently banished, which is an insane ability to be able to just instantly summon out your copy of Zark and use it as a board wipe with this card. We then also play 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Infinite Impermanence is just really good at stopping your opponent's monster effects, also locking down entire columns of spells and traps. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get in to the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to start off with Supreme King Zark. This card is absolutely insane, so we're playing 2 copies of it, because you can actually easily summon 2 copies of this card out to your side of the field. As I played this deck and playtested it so much, this deck is so fun to be able to play, to instantly summon out your copy of Zark to your side of the field, but you can actually summon out 2 in this deck, which is absolutely crazy, and it comes up a lot in this build. To summon out 1 using one of your traps, and summon out 1 using the second trap, which is just absolutely broken, to just use it as a board wipe, and just be able to go in for game using your copy of Zark. And just in case you need to tag out your copy of Zark, you can play a single copy of Odd Eyes Archray Dragon, which is such a cool card to be able to summon out, as this card actually can be summoned out by tributing a level 12 Dark Supreme King Zark Dragon that you have on your side of the field. Basically, if one of your monsters is going to return back off one of the traps, you can basically just tag it out for this, which is super cool to be able to do, and just summon out this card to your side of the field, giving you a 4,000 attack point boss monster on the field. We play a single copy of Starving Venom Preda Power Fusion Dragon for our Fusion Dragon. We play a single copy of Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon, as this card is a walking negate that we can easily bring out with our copy of Absolute Dragon. We play a single copy of Crystal Clearwing Synchro Dragon. This card is our Synchro Dragon that we can easily bring out to our side of the field using our Zark trap cards. We play a single copy of Supreme King Clearwing. Supreme King Clearwing is really good. This card is basically a Regeki, because if this card is Synchro Summon, and destroy all face-up monsters your opponent controls, which is a really cool ability just to deal with your opponent's monsters. And this card is actually super easy to summon out using Lightworm and Darkworm to be able to make this card. We play a single copy of Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon. Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon is absolutely amazing, as if it does touch the graveyard, you actually get to summon out your copy of Vortex Dragon, giving you a walking negate on the field. We'll make a single copy of Odd Eyes Rebellion XZ Dragon for our XZ Dragon. This card is really good as a 1-up, just to be able to use with our Zark trap cards, which is just really cool to be able to do. 1 copy of Access Code. Access Code's amazing this build to help you pop multiple cards on the field and come out absolutely massive. We play a single copy of Grand Solfachord Coolio. This card is really cool as a 1-up in the build, and it's amazing for its arrows alone, but this card gains 100 attack for each face-up Pendulum monster in your extract, and the activated effects of Pendulum monsters this card points to cannot be negated, which is an insane effect to be able to use your copy of Zark, which is just so cool to be able to do. And also, once per turn, when your opponent activates a card effect, quick effect, you can special summon a Solfachord card with an odd scale from your Pendulum zone to a zone this card points to, and if you do, negate the activation, and then you can add 1 Solfachord Pendulum monster with an even scale from your deck to your extract face up, which is a really cool ability, basically making this card a walking negate. We can play a single copy of Exceed the Pendulum. This card is just a really good option overall to be able to make in the deck, and it's just a cool card overall. We can play a single copy of SP. SP is just basically a double interruption, making this card a definite 1-up in the build. We can play a single copy of Beyond the Pendulum. This card is extremely important for the deck to help you search out the exact Pendulum monster you need. And then we play a single copy of IP, so we can go for a copy of SP during the opponent's turn, and it's just really cool overall in the deck. So that's gonna do for this one, guys. I would enjoy. This deck is absolutely insane. Being able to summon out Zark is just crazy powerful in this deck, and it's one of the most powerful Pendulum monsters ever created. Probably is the most powerful Pendulum monster ever created, and it's so cool that you can actually summon it in Solfachord, and Solfachord is really fun to be able to play, and it's just an insane deck. So that's gonna be this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell on there so you can become part of Notification Squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.